to introduce probably the most referenced person in the industry for the last day and a half. I think she deserves a massive, rapturous reception due to obviously the report that she's recently put out, and just all the references that she's getting. So this next panel, which wraps up just before lunch, and just by the way, one quick thing, we actually got some masterclasses going on today during lunchtime. If you are doing those or involved in those, they're based out there where the breakfast was this morning. And if you don't know where they are and you want to find it, just find a member of staff and they'll help you out. Don't forget to do that though if you are registered to go to those. But with that in mind, we're going to look at the Canadian video ecosystem, and who better than Sarah Thompson to lead that charge. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Sarah a massive round of applause. Show your love for her. Come on. There she is. Thank you. And the panelists. There we go.
Thank you very much. You can download the GDP report at Canadian Media Means Business, and I'll just give one other plug. If you buy a t-shirt, all of the dollars go to NABS Canada. I think if you've found somebody who's lost their job or needs employment support, it's really important to support NABS now more than ever. So if the NABS crew is in the audience, please connect, please grab a shirt. But that's not what this topic is about. This topic is about premium content. Something that I remember last year when I was moderating a panel of similar style. We had a debate of the audience determines premium. No, the content provider. No, production. No, it's the advertiser who determines it. No, it's the audience ratings. So we've never come to an agreement. I doubt we're going to come to an agreement today. But we have a great crew up here that represents the buy side, that represents how we buy in connected TV, and of course, OTT providers. But I like to start things off so that we can get some alignment on how we want to address this, which is the thumbs up and the thumbs down to some key questions, which originated in Roman gladiator combat and then was eventually used by World War II fighter pilots, which sometimes, if you work in the media industry, these things feel true in our day-to-day. First question for you guys, thumbs up, thumbs down. You can do side. We're good. Are we ready with our thumbs? We're going to vote. Connected TV is device delivery, smart TVs and phones. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Oh, OK. Hesitant. Funny thing I read about connected TV ads recently, that the high frequency when you stream on a phone, brands get even more complaints from audiences, and I know what those complaints feel like when I used to manage social media at Chorus back in the day. OTT refers to the delivery of content such as Netflix, Disney Plus, and Crave. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Awesome. FAST is free ad-supported OTT. Thumbs up. Yes, OK. Is YouTube another OTT? OK. Do you want to start? Is it or is it not? Why would you go, I'm not sure?
Well, we all know YouTube spans a lot of genre of video. We've got everything from, top 1% viewed YouTubers all the way to that long form and YouTube Shorts. So I think it really depends on how you approach YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me? Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Buy side's important here.
Yeah, I would say that YouTube can be cut in different ways, which works for YouTube, of course, when they go and sell. We need to be very careful about what we call CTV when we're talking YouTube specifically, and we need to have some parameters on how we define that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, YouTube is delivered over the top, which is the definition of OTT, so it gotta be OTT. Is it CTV? That's a different question, I think.
And we're going to ask that question now. Is YouTube premium? Thumbs up, thumbs down. OK, we were discussing this in the green room about repurposed content from other entertainment channels. The broadcasters talked about it for a way of marketing for their own content to reach incremental or grow their audiences for their own viewership. What's your perspective of this, Christine? I'll throw it to you.
I don't like the term premium. I think it's about either attention or it's about the quality of the content, the engagement around the content, whether it's passive or active. So I just don't like the term, so that's why I'm neutral.
So what is your favorite term that you've seen? Because you've done these events before, you've traveled the world with Netflix, you've spoken at, what's your favorite way of talking about this?
I would split it into two. So I would say there's the content side of the equation and what content that is, the length of it, the quality, all of those types of things is kind of one side. And then it's the consumer who's engaging with that content and what they're doing. So again, active or passive, whether it's on in the background and running, whether it's something that you're leaning into and you're watching and that you're as engaged at the beginning as you were later into it. So those are my two sides.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think it's kind of this weird sliding scale, and when we try to define it and put it in buckets is when we kind of have a problem. Like, I don't know, Mr. Beast is a great example. Was he premium on YouTube? And then when he moved to Prime Video, did he then become premium? I think it's very hard when we're trying to define different bits of content and put like a white brush over it. You know, things like Hell's Kitchen, we got a lot of attention for that on linear television. When it moved over to FAST, all of a sudden people are like, well, it's not that premium. So I think we just need to think of it, like Christina said, more of like at an attention scope, and if it aligns sort of with our brands in a premium nature.
And the way we see things at Magnite is also the size of the screen. Size matter. Big screen, and when you're laid back, it's a big rationale in terms of how impactful it's going to be versus being on your phone. We know and we see the results that are fairly different in between the two experiences. So I think where you watch things is also very important.
Well, and I think it probably also begs, when you think about it on your phone, it's like full eye view, but it's also a very distracting environment. It's easy to be distracted versus TV when you're sitting on the couch. I'm mostly distracted by whatever snacks my daughter is demanding. Do people use their phones to scan QR codes to shop off of connected TV ad units? Thumbs up, thumbs down? All right. So who wants to take this one? Who wants to add to this? Is it just not a natural behavior? Are we leaning too much in the QR code for a means of attribution? What's the problem?
I can speak from a buy side. I would say that it's a nice to have. Why not get that additional engagement if you can, but don't look at it as the primary driver for effectiveness in your campaign.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd say the same. Like, I'm actually in the process of buying a car, and I've seen a couple ads and actually scan the QR code. And it's just, I think it's more novel. Like, I think it's more of a function or a utility at, like, let's say a restaurant. I sometimes see them when I'm driving and they're on billboards. It's like, wow, what am I going to do? Something dangerous to scan this QR code? I think in the case of CTV, it's kind of like the restaurant thing. Like, it made a comeback and it's slowly happening. But like Chimi said, if we're going to make that the basis of the KPI or the basis of the outcome, you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot with the client for sure.
Fair enough.
I would agree. It's the complementary piece. You can't just expect it to deliver all the results that you're looking for, but it can add to your branding. It can be immediate for anyone who's in the market to buy a car or do something like that. So it can enhance what you're doing overall, but it's not the be-all and end-all.
Amazing. Is ACR sufficient for resolving tracking campaign issues around the lens of frequency and targeting issues that we have of buying across connected TV? I know that we've talked about a presentation that happened yesterday about how many different ways you can buy into the environment now. We're seeing some consolidation, but do we have sufficient tracking of campaigns across the platform? And maybe this is a thumbs up, thumbs down for the buy side.
I just don't think it's big enough to be able to solve that problem. ACR, I think it has a lot of potential, but it cannot do the full job on its own right now.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
I'd agree. It's not a panacea. It's not like the ultimate choice, but I think it gets us a couple steps closer than where we were before. I think with more of the traditional linear sides, we had this more cohesive structure to how reporting was done. But now that it's been more fragmented, this might be an easier way to pull some of those pieces together, but it's never going to answer that reach frequency question totally.
Okay. I put on a post on my LinkedIn to ask for some questions from peers. I chose one. Is OTT truly delivering on its promise of precision targeting and better ROI that it's been promising for almost a decade now? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
No.
Does everything in the connected TV OTT space in the US translate to Canada? That's not a surprising answer, but one that I think always often needs to be addressed as we lean into the Buy Canada side, but the behaviors of Canada are entirely different. We were talking in the green room about this, of the nuances of markets, of even access to high-speed internet is not universal across our country, so it's an important thing to focus on. Can we also, thumbs up, thumbs down, agree to maybe less jargon for the rest of this conversation? Amazing. Christina, when you start looking at sort of comparing video habits of the audiences for Netflix, US, UK, what are some of the most significant sort of differences of how Canadians embrace content on the platform, nuances, and what always kind of surprised you about viewer habits that you have when you talk to your Netflix colleagues around the world?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we take away is just the scope of content that's available on Netflix. The library of content is enormous. So that's one, it gives consumers a lot of choice as far as what they want to watch, depending on the mood that they're in and what they want to do. The second piece of that is the quality of the content. So the types of productions that we're putting together, we start with a local lens for any market that we're in and then take that to a global footprint. So the biggest hits that we have, whether it's Squid Game or Bridgerton or Wednesday, depending on what your viewing habits are, resonate with everyone across the world. So we typically see that any of those big programs are going to hit our top 10 in each of those markets for the most part. For Canada, though, I think where the difference comes between us and the US and other places is that we tend to watch a lot more international content. There tends to be things that I personally am watching a lot of it, but the things that come out from all over the world that we are interested in, partially because Canada is so multicultural in nature. We have people from all over the world here and they want to watch that, but we are also interested in other parts of the world.
Yep. I think if you have a child right now under the age of 17 in your house, you probably are on the K-pop Demon Hunters rodeo right now. I didn't really like the book, but I did watch Hunting Wives, which had a lot of trending and discussion. And this is a question for everybody around mature content ratings. It's kind of attracting a higher viewership, especially reported by TV Vision most recently. What are we learning about ads, content ratings, and ads near more mature content in general? Do we see that as kind of a miss with advertisers? Is it that we're being too brand safe, too brand cautious? Where do we sit? And we were talking about it before. It kind of reminds me of like mature content can be watched all day long on a platform, but before it was regulated on the linear platforms post 10 o'clock. So where do we see that as an opportunity? Because viewers are going to it and the ratings are showing that as well. Do we see that as a miss?
I'm like a pearl clutcher.
If the audience is there, should advertisers not be there?
So it depends advertiser to advertiser, obviously. Mm-hmm. But what we focus on is why is that trending? Where does that fit in the cultural zeitgeist? And if our clients aren't comfortable with being on mature content, what other content is that audience watching? It's not all they're watching. Mm-hmm. So that's what we look at. You know, we're fortunate enough at OMD, like we have tools that help us watch these zeitgeists, so we can actually see, okay, this show's trending, why? We can go and look at, okay, what's the cultural phenomenon around it and how can I feed off it? So I think being tapped into that, like we get so lost in just the one show and the one rating, but we want to expand on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that being really hyper-focused on programming is such a TV behavior that doesn't seem to translate into connected TV buying. Nobody's going and saying, I want to buy just this show or cherry pick a schedule when we're talking connected TV. So in that case, I would go back to talking to the client about how comfortable they feel with being exposed to those types of programming and where the business wants to set itself, basically. So ultimately, I would caution around being driven specifically by trends and more around what the audience is watching and where you find them engaged and attentive.
Yeah, Christina, we were talking before we stepped out here because I opened up my Netflix app and we looked at, nobody wants to see this, by the way, but Christine obliged. The viewer habits on genre and how people jump through things is really interesting, of the diversity of content that you were talking about that Netflix wants to provide, so that you can go down, that no one person is ever one thing. When you see that from an advertiser opportunity of the behavioral data, do you think sometimes we get too hyper-focused on us just being one thing and that we're missing something maybe bigger in the behaviors of the audiences?
Yeah, I think sometimes we can get a little hyper-focused on what we're trying to do, or the audience we're trying to reach, or the product that we're trying to sell to that audience. When it comes to your original question about mature audiences, though, we find that our members lean in. So if anyone watched any of the Monster series with Dahmer, if you're watching Adolescence, if you're watching Baby Reindeer, so our members are leaning into that content. They want to watch it, engage with it, and see it. For our advertising and agency partners, though, is what we need to do is give them the tools to be associated with that content in the way that they want to be. So they're not going to show up in the episodes where there's the most violence, or there's things that are happening. So whether it's applying sensitive content blocking to remove that from their buy, so they're not being taken out of the whole season or the whole episodes, they're just being taken out of the parts that might be what they're not looking for, whether it's language or something like that, or taking the opposite approach and doing positive title targeting. So having a more holistic approach to say these ones are acceptable to us and we want to move forward with them, and they can still fall within that bucket.
And they don't miss out on an opportunity.
No, we give them choice.
Yep.
But we can all agree, like being here and talking about the future of TV, that connected TV is a fantastic place for advertisers versus other places such as social or even YouTube. We're talking about YouTube, where there is occurrence of things that are not completely controlled, versus here we are in a place that is, I would say, as controlled as what we were used to have on TV, or very close to. And that's really great opportunity for advertisers, I think. So we are doing one thing right, I feel, in that industry.
Yeah, I think you have a lot more control about where your ad placement actually is in these environments, for sure. What is this group's perspective on ensuring platforms have Canadian-produced content? And from the buy side, how important is that to you, that there is more Canadian-produced shows in Canada on our platforms?
You're looking at me.
Yeah.
So we know that Canadians gravitate towards content that's relevant to them. That includes Canadian content. So I think, that will naturally happen. That's naturally what we see happening. And so, yeah, it's an important part of what we look at when we buy.
For me, when I've come from a different market many years ago now, but in the top advertising ad spend markets, they are supporting their local content. And that doesn't happen quite as much here in Canada for many different reasons. Some of the top content here is not made in Canada. I think there's a huge appetite now for pro-Canadian sentiment is very high. We can all agree to that. I think it's an opportunity for content producers to tap into that sentiment and come up with quality Canadian content for us to buy. I will say, and maybe this won't go down very well across the room, but it still needs to be high quality, high engaging, amazing programming. We won't, just because it's Canadian, doesn't mean we have to buy subpar programming. Does that make sense?
It does. You just don't want a cheaper version of something that could have been well produced and well packaged. You're not supporting Canadian content just for the sake of the story, the content, the engagement still has to be there.
And I think it makes sense if you're following your audience. If you're creating content for an audience to watch, it should be high quality. So I think, and then the advertisers will follow. Yeah. So I think, yeah, the content needs to be high quality. Yeah.
I will say that there are some great examples across the board of Canadian-made content that's being well supported, that's thriving. It just needs to be duplicated.
But I mean, we need to define what Canadian is, because like there is many shows like Handmaid's Tale, like Suits, like that are made in Canada. Like there's huge studios in the East End, Netflix is one of them, obviously. So I think there's also, we need to understand what that means. Does that mean that it needs to talk about Canada? I don't think so. I think it just needs to be produced, and the money of the production needs to come to Canadians. And that's what we should support.
I think when Christina was talking about how diverse Canadians consume different storylines from around the world, that's a great insight from a production perspective too.
Yeah, and to add to that, we've been filming and shooting in Canada for years. So lots of productions have been shot in the Canadian marketplace and represented wherever they are in the world. But we also have a Canadian content team that's based in Toronto. So they are looking for original Canadian stories to tell. They are looking for ways to represent the Canadian marketplace and take it to the world. So some of our first productions was North of North, which was a co-production between CBC and APTN, which was picked up. It amassed 10 million viewers within the 2 weeks on the platform. It was in the top 10 on Netflix in Canada and many places around the world. So that's our first production that was here, that was commissioned. If anyone's been at TIFF this week, we launched Wayward, which is a new series that's going to be coming out. If you like a dark drama, sign yourself up. That's amazing. Will be coming out. So that one's being featured in TIFF this week. We have a Montreal Expos documentary that's coming out. North of North has been renewed for season 2. And then we're currently filming in Newfoundland right now for a new production that's coming. So there is a lot that we're doing locally, in addition to having our teams based here, our studios that are based here, and ever investing more in the Canadian marketplace.
That's amazing. I mean, the more production jobs that we have in Canada, the better off we all are. I have one last question because we're going to be wrapping up really quickly, and I promise I won't go over. What is the fast opportunity for advertisers in Canada, especially when we have 400 channels compared to 5,000 in the United States? How should this actually be approached? And what are Canadians watching in that top 5? Do we know?
I can field this one. I'm pretty bullish on the FAST opportunity. Obviously, we're one of the latest OEMs to launch our FAST, so we've had pretty good trajectory as now. So I like to say you never mistake the surfer for the wave. I think we came on board when there was people exploring opportunities on their TV. I understand we had growth, maybe FAST has been a bit flat, maybe like single-digit growth year over year. I think it's to what we were all just talking about. Like, we're doing more, even as an OEM, a manufacturer, to invest in our own custom content. So we've seen growth of certain channels. Like, we did a celebrity cooking channel with David Chang, and he runs his own channel. It's 24 hours cooking. We're doing our own, reality TV shows, which we've seen quite a bit of success on. So we have one called Real Estate, where you compete to win LG appliances in a home. It's actually pretty cool. And then the biggest success points, I think, have been literally mirroring what we're seeing on linear having success. So we do like a lot of home renovation shows, home and garden, a lot of the cooking stuff. So if we can replicate that model, zero barrier to entry, you turn your TV on, we're one of 5 freaking buttons on the remote, you click it, you start watching it. We're starting to see more and more of that building on the FAST sort of momentum into the future. So I'm bullish on FAST.
Okay, last question. Content that you want to buy on, what does that look like for you right now? What are the parameters that you're factoring in?
Attention.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm curious.
What are the factors that you're prioritizing from a buy? Attention.
I'm just trying to keep it short.
No, you're doing good. Keep it short.
I would love to see more amazing Canadian programming. And also, I want to see more of that amazing collaboration that's happening all over the world happen here in Canada, because I do believe in the freedom of democracy, I guess, of content for consumers. And I think it makes it very interesting for us to be able to buy in that way. But I will say that we need to protect the ad experience. We need to protect things like frequency and measurement. Has to be a huge priority as we expand the places we put content.
Perfect. On that note, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much to my panel. You guys did a great job. You're very close to lunch now, I promise you. Thank you, guys.